Invoking the Emergency Act and the powers that come with it, and the powers can be created from it, is quite an extreme measure, do you not think? Well, here we are in Canada with this Liberal government who has invoked this. And with the many allies that the Liberal government has right now within the government and in places that we don't know about as citizens, they just are doing backroom deals that are harming this country beyond recognition, where Canadians are being traumatized, stigmatized, and ruined beyond belief. That is exactly what is happening right now with the government that we have with these Liberals. And from what we are seeing now from the NDP, that is kind of working with the Liberals and trying to stuff out the Conservatives' efforts to level the playing field to be more fair for us as citizens while they try to pull us out of this pandemic. But then again, we don't know what this pandemic's about besides trying not to get COVID-19, because there's that pandemic, but then there's that pandemic that we're experiencing with the political situations that are forming as a result, that are taking this opportunity with this pandemic to create their own pandemic over us, which is the pandemic of tyranny that no one needs, no one wants, just like the COVID-19 pandemic and the measures that are being taken to eliminate COVID-19, or we live with COVID-19 and the way that they want us to live with it. You know, same thing with these governments. They want us to live with this pandemic of tyranny, and they want us to accept it. They want us to be fully subjected under it at certain times, and at other times they kind of release the grip a little bit to make us feel comfortable, while they're desensitizing us to the overall tyranny that we are under. The occupation in Ottawa. I'll tell you what's occupying Ottawa right now. It's a false government. Not a bunch of people who are protesting for their freedom, for the respect of the Canadian Charter of Rights, who are peacefully outside in a peaceful assembly, serving food, giving courage to Canadians, and yes, a little bit of noise that they have made, okay, quite a lot of noise, that have disturbed residents. I can agree with that. But is it really an occupation? No, it is a peaceful assembly that maybe has broken some bylaws, because the government that we have has broken more than bylaws. They have broken the law. They have broken our Charter of Rights. They have broken our very democracy that represents Canadian citizens. They have infiltrated the democracy like communists typically do. They come in through democratic means. They even call themselves Democrats at certain points. And then what they do is that they turn the country into a full-blown tyranny. And the people who suffer the most is us and their political opposition. And when I say us, I mean we just suffer regardless. People disappear for all sorts of reasons. They want your land. They don't like something that you're saying. They want resources that you have, and they'll just trump up charges. Just like on Alberta border crossing, saying that these peace-loving people basically brought in a bunch of guns and ammunition with the intent to kill police. And the people who were actually peacefully protesting there, peacefully assembling, took it upon themselves to say, hey, you know what? That's not us. We will leave, really. If that's what you found there, that's what you're going to accuse us of. We don't know the details of that. You know, we'll leave. And that's what they did. They left peacefully. They hugged police officers. Police officers hugged them back. And yes, the border was reopened. That's good that the border is reopened. It's good that the Ambassador Bridge was reopened. It is good that they have cleared these blockades along the border. But you got to understand that people were peacefully assembling. Yes, they were blocking stuff. That perhaps was a little bit too far, but it got the message across, at least to the Conservatives and to Justin Trudeau, because he stepped it up with the Emergency Act. A very unnecessary act. So yes, the only occupation that right now is in Ottawa is right now the Liberal government being aided by NDPs and other powers that are quite frankly detrimental to our democracy. They say that we are undermining their democracy. You pay very close attention, and yes, all the people are trying to undermine Justin Trudeau's democracy, his democracy, how they view democracy. A democracy that has nothing to do with the Canadian public. All it does is subject the Canadian public, where 99% of the public can vote things out, but then they within themselves will vote it in. That is a reality that we are facing right now with the current government that we have. It is not a government, it is a regime, it is an occupation of our government. It is a coup, is what it is. And it's not just a coup within the government, it's a coup on all businesses, on all Canadians. That is what's happening. There's this character who is the face of the NDP, the representative of Burnaby South, who calls the people who are peacefully assembling potential terrorists. Now I'm going to say that the Jagmeet Singh, this guy, is himself a person in support of terrorism, if not a terrorist himself. The man, this Jagmeet Singh, is racist, and I'm very sure that he's misogynistic. He's misogynist, I am very positive. He is very dismissive of the real voices of Canadians, the Canadians who care and respect and love this country. And this man has basically sought refuge here in Canada and somehow has become a political leader, making decisions that affects Canadians. They're a misogynist, racist, and potential terrorist in support of terrorism, to this day funding terrorism, and if you look closely into it, also supporting terrorism back at home, where he came from. Funding terrorism through Antifa, BLM, Justin Trudeau, and people like him who have actually got on one knee and swore allegiance to these terrorist groups. I would like you to take a look at the images of what Antifa and BLM was doing in the United States, in Seattle, what they did, how they murdered, how they burnt down businesses. It was just looting. It was chaos. It was absolute just chaos. And this man was behind it, or at least funded it, Justin Trudeau and people like Jagmeet Singh. And for them to have the balls, quite frankly, I'm going to say it like that, the balls, like balls of steel basically, if they want to say that, Mr. Justin Trudeau, who's not affected by peer pressure, he has stated very proudly once when he was younger. And look at this. Look at this funding terrorists in support of terrorists, basically. Funding them. Like, what else can I say? Here's money, go commit terrorist acts. Oh, but by the way, I'm going to condemn it a little bit, just so I'm not completely yoked with the actions, but I swear my allegiance to you. Think about that. Now, these are the people right now who are occupying Ottawa. These are the people right now who are literally occupying Ottawa and terrorizing our citizens. Yes, terrorizing, because we live in fear. We live in fear of our government. We live in fear of these policies. We live in fear of these mandates. Vaccinated or not, we live in fear. You can ask anyone that. Or at least most people will tell you, yeah, there is, I got a fear. And also, Justin Trudeau, who has now brought our country into an inflation that is 5.1%. Doesn't seem like a lot, but that is literally a 30-year high, where literally in 1 month, our homes go up by $25,000, the regular home, the typical home, making it completely unaffordable. And then there's people who are paying those mortgages who are renting to people who basically have to pay those mortgages in those basements, and they cannot afford it. where a 3-bedroom basement can now be like $2,500 to rent. That is unaffordable, especially for low-income families. So where do those low-income families go? Well, there's been a lot of families like that have actually went on the street with their kids. And some of these people lose their kids because of the conditions they are now living in. Can you believe that? That's Canada for you. This is what our government is bringing to us. This is not our government, by the way, guys. This is an occupation. This is a regime. Justin Trudeau does not have a legitimate government. And all the people within that government who supports Justin Trudeau, whether NDP, Conservative, whatever else is out there that we just don't hear about anymore, in support of this government or this regime that we have right now, this dictatorship, are not valid. They are actually wrongfully taking our tax dollars and abusing us. We are being abused, basically. This is an abusive relationship where we have a dominant partner putting his or her weight on the back of the neck of the other one and squishing down harder and harder and harder to the point where that person is screaming and saying, stop. And they're saying, no, I'm not going to stop. You are mine. The way I just made this Justin Trudeau and this Jagmeet Singh, who's collaborator of this tyrannical terrorist regime that we have right now in Ottawa, this occupation. The way I describe that is quite honestly what it is. That's what's happening. And right now, the people who are screaming is us, the citizens, vaccinated or not, holding acceptable views, patriotic views. And that's one thing that they're trying to do, is they're trying to persecute patriots. If you're a patriot, you're basically deemed a domestic terrorist, is what they're trying to do. Now, in one of my last videos, I mentioned that what if this freedom convoy was set up in the beginning? What if it was created and backed up by good people who needed to deliver this message, but it was infiltrated from the very beginning, or was helped created by the very people who are ruining our country right now, who are doing this to our populations with this pandemic, with this tyranny? What if they infiltrated that and helped bring it to Ottawa? What if they did that? What if they did that? And they manipulated a bunch of good people who took leadership positions, who influenced and led like hundreds of thousands of people, and now this is spread internationally, and now they're conveniently just putting in these laws. Where the conservative government, yes, will challenge it, they will fight all the way, but in reality, they're installing this. And usually when they install acts like this, yeah, they get removed after a while, but a lot of the laws that were placed because of those acts are often kept. Taxes that we are still paying for since World War I, I believe, that were temporary war measure taxes and are still here. Laws that are still here because of it. Which is not an upgrade to our country or constitution or our legal system, but more just a manipulation of it. We are bound by the rule of law in Canada. We have our voices, but we are also bound by the rule of law. Guys, pay attention to that. The rule of law. No, we are not bound by the rule of law, where the law rules over us and the law can make up whatever it wants and rules over us. We are not a people in Canada, even though we have the Queen's head on the coin, which is a bit ridiculous. The Crown land, the Crown councils, the Crown, this royalty that they actually act like they are over us. We are not bound by a rule of law where we are ruled over tyrannically by law. Yes, we are bound by certain rules that come from the law, but we are not ruled over by the law. That's what people have to understand, and this is always said, we are bound by the rule of law, we're bound by the rule of law, we're bound. No. We're not bound under the rule of martial law. We're not bound under the rules of emergency acts that are placed in tyrannically, that are placed in uncontrollably. A soldier at the tomb of the unknown soldier gets gunned down, and there is no emergency act that is put in place. We got people like Antifa and BLM who have completely taken over cities at certain points, or at least good portions of it. The management of those cities destroyed, looted, and no emergency act was encouraged there. Justin Trudeau didn't go publicly and say, hey, Biden or Trump or who's ever in power out there in the United States, please. When we have Antifa threatening people and harassing people on the street that are preaching, are basically occupying entire street corners, corrupting and ruining children while you're funding it, obviously you will not impose the Emergency Act. But you have done it to a bunch of people protesting your government. Your government, like a typical tyrant. You do that. Now, when I say you, I can't really say Justin Trudeau anymore because Justin Trudeau has a lot of collaborators. We're seeing a lot of faces. Freeland, Medicino, almost countless others that are just as guilty as Justin Trudeau. His entire liberal party, besides a few brave ones that have come out and said, hey, you know what, this guy's too much, are just as guilty as Justin Trudeau. And they, thinking that they're royal families over us, are rulers, when they are meant to serve us, are acting as so, like our rulers. Speaking of this rule of law and how it needs to be applied, that this is wrong, unacceptable views, you're a terrorist, you're an extremist, you're this. No, we're not. We're regular people that are working, that are filling the ranks of the job force, the workforce, that is the success in our country. We are the reason why our country is successful. Us, the hardworking people who have quite frankly been under this rule of law for way too long. This ruling. We're being ruled by these laws. And now with these mandates, the rule of law has become even more intense. And now we cannot afford to live. We cannot afford to feed ourselves. Or at least many cannot. Basically, we are being thrown out like peasants. Here's a scraps, here's some rotting cabbage, here's a makeshift roof for your shelter, is basically what we have. Yes, we live pretty good in Canada, even when we're a bit in poverty, but where is it coming to? And to say, oh, well, you're lucky, be like, yeah, we're lucky, but also look at the size of our country. We're robbed. We're wasted. There's countless people that are wasted every single day as a result of this government and how we've been living for decades under Canada. Actually, since the beginning, there's a lot of people, the majority of people actually live in a good amount of poverty. Yes, there was a time where we had jobs that were good enough to pay for what we needed, but we could have always had more. And it's not just about having more. It's like every Canadian citizen, or at least everyone that wants to, should know what a homestead is like. They should be able to do it without having to pay an arm and a leg, without having so many restrictions onto doing it, without having so many bylaws and little mandates that make it hard for people to build, make it hard for people to succeed. Basically, if you want to be successful in Canada nowadays, you either got to move to the middle of nowhere, deal with harsh conditions, deal with a lack of stuff. Well, you have so much, but then you got restrictions on that. Your land's not even your land. So basically, if you really want to be successful in Canada, you have to have the money. You have to immigrate here with the money. Your dad has to give you this money, or your parents have to die and leave something behind, and to think that they're going after what they leave behind too. There's a bunch of rules, or else you got to pay all these taxes. And guys, yes, they have censored our media. You go to places like Rumble, anywhere else, what the Canadian government has done, it is put bills in place, laws in place, to censor us, to have all these companies that are in control of the big tech to censor us. That's what's happening right now. So these videos, this point of view, unless it's, even if it's a conservative point of view, let's just say like if I'm saying something that benefits the government, even if it sounds kind of radical or extreme or really conservative, they will allow it to be viewed. Why? Because it's feeding their cause. But if you have an actual unique opinion like this, opinions that they don't like, opinions that are very honest, straightforward, yes, they will censor it. They'll make you feel like you're small. They'll make you feel like no one's listening to you when people are. People are very interested. They want to engage. And that's what's happened to the majority of people like us who are in the middle. Because I noticed that the conservative side, even through the Freedom Convoy, they're allowed to get a lot of views, a lot of publicity. And then the left obviously has all the publicity that they want to give themselves. So it's the right wing is controlled and the left wing is controlled. Duh. No duh. But the people who are in the center are what they're trying to hit. The people who have common sense, who view it for what it is. That's what they're trying to go after. Hey, listen, man. Like, I understand we gotta fight for freedom and this and that, but what is really going on? What is actually happening? The only people who are closely voicing that sounds similar to what I'm saying is the conservatives right now. But the conservatives in the past have also been guilty of putting our country under, of putting bad laws, installing bad things, encouraging bad things. But right now, they're trying to challenge that system. Why? Because the liberal system is collapsing. So what's going to happen is before another party, before a different point of view takes over, they're going to take over and say, see, we brought you justice. Vote for us. Put us in for another 4 years. And then when we get tired of them, it's going to be the liberals again. So they're desensitizing us to this rule of law in one way or another. Playing good cop, bad cop. Pierre Poilievre, I believe, is a very good candidate if he wants to be prime minister. But then again, Justin Trudeau sounded the same. We're going to do this. We're going to get justice for Canadians. This and this and that. We're going to legalize pot. We're going to do this. We're going to make things more affordable. No. Today we are being crippled as Canadians. Oh, cool. We can legally smoke pot while we're homeless. That's amazing. A cop won't put us in jail or give us heck because we're smoking a joint. Well, we're losing our lives. Hey, I got a little bit of brain fog because I'm so baked and permafried. No, that is not appropriate. That is just that's not appropriate. That's just evil, basically. That's just ridiculous. Jagmeet Singh, I believe that you're a radical. You're an extremist and a potential terrorist and funding terrorism. Justin Trudeau, unacceptable views is yours. This occupation of Ottawa is your government and your collaborators. That is the truth. Oh, they'll censor this video. Whatever. People are seeing it for what it is. And guess what? There will be a challenge. Small people like us, even people like me, are going to work politically. We're going to use our voice. We're going to combine our voice. And hopefully, one day, we can form a better government. A better government where we can respect our Constitution and make it a better one. Take out all these indoctrinations that are happening right now upon our school children in the school system. We are going to make sure that Canadians have affordable homes. Not just affordable homes, but proper land ownership. The Crown land system is going to be checked. Our resources are going to be checked, and they're going to work for Canadians. We're not going to support any more of these radicals that come in and call us radicals for wanting freedom, for being patriotic. Everybody in this country should have the right to be patriotic. Whether your skin is brown, whether your skin is different variations of brown, whether your skin is black, whether your skin is pink, white, blue, whatever. Apart from those other colors, like what we recognize. Basically every one of every culture. As long as you hold views that are not terrorist views, that you want to hurt and radically dominate the other cultures around you, that will not be accepted. Rather it is fascism, rather it is Sikh supremacy, rather it is Chinese supremacy, fascist, communist, no. Or Jewish, no. It's not going to be like that. Because there's certain cultures that hold within their views that one day they're going to inherit the earth and conquer the earth and they're going to have slaves and servants. No, absolutely not. Not in Canada and not anywhere, as long as true democracy exists. But what we have seen happen with democracy and how it brings in communist powers and tyrants, and how the rule of law can completely destroy people like this, we got to beg to ask, what is the democracy that right now we are under? I believe that democracy has to be restructured, and the actual idea of democracy needs to exist, where every citizen can have a say. When they vote, their vote matters. Not just saying, hey, well, you voted for this. You voted for this government. And by default, we do these things, but you voted for this. So you've accepted this. Or you voted for the other guy. Too bad. You voted for it. That's what I hear all the time. The rule of law. You know, we're a democracy. Our democracy. We hear this government saying, our democracy. Undermining our democracy. Whose democracy are you talking about? Canada's democracy or your democracy? We're being ruled by mafias is what we are. Mafias. People who have very close ties or even related to each other. We got Justin Trudeau coming from Pierre Trudeau. Come on. Are you kidding me? What is this? Monarchy? Basically. We got the Queen's head on our coins. Yes, we're not this, you know, like it was before, but we're still there. The Crown land, ownership of all our land is managed by the Queen. Or it's her representatives here in Canada, or whatever it is, this crown. No. We are being subjected. Those are the unacceptable views that hurt us every single day as Canadians, starve us out, put us in these city centers where COVID-19 can ruin our lives beyond recognition this way. All of you, thank you very much. You heard the ambience of my surroundings. The trains, the cars, the planes. I'm not going to sit here and overly edit this and make myself look really... I put this on today. Not much of a fancy guy, but I put it on today. You know, but I got my beard hanging strong. You know. That's what I'm doing. That's how I'm fighting for my people. Using my voice. I don't blockade roads or call for an end of other people, but I do call an end to this tyranny, and I do protest with my voice, and I will blockade bad laws with my voice by standing against it. All of you, thank you very much. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe. Please share this video. Okay. You know, YouTube and these Canadian laws of censorship are going to keep censoring these videos regardless, but if you can make a difference, make a difference. You know, share with your community. If you agree with what I'm saying, share with your community. I think there's a lot of common sense there. There is a lot of common sense there, and it's time that we apply it. We're all thinking the same thing, and it's time to let our voices be heard. Thank you very much, everybody.